Unleashing the Power of a Woman. Introduction. In a world designed for men, women face the challenge of being everything and often find themselves confused and insecure. But the power of women is still not fully understood. In this article, we will explore the true nature and assignment of the female, the changes in women's roles over time, and how women can embrace their uniqueness and fulfill their purpose. 1. The challenge of the 21st century woman. Living in a world designed for men, women face pressure to be everything. Work, care for the home, have children, and pay for their education. This pressure leads to confusion and insecurity as women try to juggle multiple roles and meet societal expectations. The world has changed since World War II, and women are expected to be both men and women. It's time to understand and appreciate the true nature and purpose of women. I want to begin with a few statements which have to do with the challenge of the 21st century woman. It's tough to be a woman today, very difficult to be a woman. It's even more difficult to be a male, and that's why most males intend to be women. Why is it so difficult to be a female today? Let's take a look at a couple of thoughts. I believe that the most difficult challenge that a female faces today is the fact that she is living in a world designed for men. This goes back about 50 to 60 years when this hit the height when James Brown, the famous singer, wrote the song "This Is a Man's World." And that song captured the attitude that most men had toward women. One of the common statements they made was, "to know your place." I'm sure you know that word, and occasionally, they told you that your place was in the kitchen and the bedroom. In other words, there was such a graphic negative attitude toward women by men, that even when men had company over, they asked their wives to leave the room, and this was in the Western world. We're not talking about the East where it's even worse, and so this spirit of a woman being caught up in this world that men created, has placed women in a challenging position. Most of you women are still trying to survive and to emerge from that, still struggling with that. Plenty of men are having crises right now because men don't know what to do with the new woman, because the world is no longer a man's world. It's changed since World War II. It's crucial to understand that, ladies. The 21st century woman is pressed on every side to be everything to everyone all the time. It's tough to be a woman actually. Today they want you to be a man and a woman at the same time. They want you to work and also be a homekeeper. They want you to have babies and raise them, and then pay their tuition too. I mean, it's incredible. A woman has so much pressure it's difficult. The average woman is confused and insecure about her purpose and role in life, and that's a real problem because some women are not sure what it is to be a woman anymore. That's why many of them are experimenting. What does it mean to be a woman today? I also have to balance this by saying it's worse for the men because the men are in such a crisis, whereby the men are your greatest problem, because the men don't know what to do either. They're not sure what it is to be a man anymore. The average man in the world is struggling with his true manhood. He doesn't know what it is to be a man. You remember that about 40 years ago it was easy to be a man, 60 years ago it was automatic to be a man, because the roles were apparent. He goes to work, you keep the house, you have the babies, and he buys the food. I mean, it was clear, and that's why your grandmother didn't have a divorce. There were no divorces back then because the roles were clear. Everyone knew where their place was. The man place was out working while the woman place keeping the home. So the man bought the home, the woman cleaned it and kept it, the man bought the food, and the woman cooked it and served it. It was simple, matter of fact. Most women and men at that time didn't have a problem with one another because there was no competition and no contention. The man knew where the woman was all the time, she was home. And she knew where he was in labor. As a matter of fact, it was so tough to survive 60 years ago that everybody had to keep their roles clear. It was simple to be married and to love one another. Even your grandmother and grandfather did not express love the way you express love today, because they had no time to do it. He was busy working 10 to 12 hours a day. By the time he came home, all he wanted was food, sex, and bed. And you know, the woman back then didn't complain because she understood he worked all day. He was tired, and she had his food ready. She fed him, had sex, and went to bed. He's happy the next morning, goes back out in the forest in the jungle of life, works for her, and takes care of the kids. And so she respected him because he did that. He worked hard, and she was respected by him, and that is because he knew she took care of the kids in the home and everything, so they respected one another. There was a high respect for each other. Their love was based on their roles. She loved him because he worked so hard to keep the family together. He loved her because she took care of the home, she took care of him and the kids, and he appreciated her cleaning his clothes and doing other things. I mean, there was this mutual respect. 2. The changing roles of women. During World War II, women's roles changed as they left their homes to work in factories while men were at war. This shift caused changes in relationships and dynamics, as men returned home to find empty homes and women in the workforce. Today, men are struggling to understand what it means to be a man in our changing society. They have lost their traditional role as the provider and protector of the family, leading to frustration and sometimes even domestic abuse. It's crucial to recognize that a woman's worth is not determined by her domestic skills or all, but by her inherent purpose. World War II changed the world in ways we have not calculated yet. Remember, World War II came, the Western world got involved in the war, and hundreds of thousands of men in America went to Europe to fight. They went to Japan and other areas, and what happened? The men used to work in the factories, but now when men were gone, the factories were quiet. So the women were asked to make bullets. And instead of sewing, they had to learn to make tanks. And if you study the history of America, that's when women began to leave home to go out and work for the war machinery. So the men are on the battlefield, they leave home. The women now have to go and make the bullets for the men to use in their guns. So women began to leave the home because of the displacement of men. After the war was finished in 1945, the men came back home, and there was no one home. Where is the woman? She's in the factory. And guess whose job that used to be? His job. So now he comes back with 2 problems. 1, the home's empty, and she has his job. She's now earning revenue. So we have 3 problems because he used to provide everything. That's why she respected him. Now she's making more than he's making, so the respect has dropped. Thirdly, they used to need each other. That's why your grandmother and grandfather never got a divorce. They needed each other. In fact, if she hadn't mentioned leaving, his question would have been, "Where are you going?" Because she had no money, she had no support, so that's why she stayed. That's why many times 60 years ago, a woman may have been abused by a man but never left. She had nowhere to go. There was no other support, so she stayed. She made the marriage work, he made the marriage work. But now we have a new equation. We have women out working, and we have men displaced. They're not sure what to do. You know, back then, a man's manhood was measured by simple things like building the house for her, earning the food, and bringing home the bacon. He pays the utilities, he takes care of the kids as far as their maintenance, and he protects the family. And it is clear that's what a man does. It was clear what a woman did was keep the house clean, she kept the kids in order, she cooked the food, and she took the money and distributed it properly. 3. The power of women. Women have the power to worship God and lead by influence. A woman's marital status does not affect her ability to worship God. In fact, a woman leads not by position of power but by influence. Women have the power to receive, multiply, give life, and make things bigger. They were built by God to incubate and bring forth life. A woman is an incubator who multiplies and gives back what she receives. She plays the role of a producer, encourager, and prophetess. It's time for women to embrace their power and step into their calling. The man is the head, and the woman is the helper. She helps him lead, she's a leader, but she helps him lead. He is a provider, but she is an incubator, that's what a female is. She was born to be incubated, now an incubator is a fascinating creature. To incubate means to receive, give life, and give back. It means you receive, you multiply, you give it life, and you give it back. Every female was built by God for that. They receive, they multiply, they give life to it, and they give it back to you. That's why a woman is dangerous, because God has given you the power to take something in and give it life, make it bigger, and then give it back. That is important, ladies. If you give a woman a house, she'll give it life and make it a home. If you give her groceries, she multiplies, it gives it life, gives you a meal. If you give her a sperm, you don't get a sperm back, she multiplies, it gives it life, gives you a baby. If you give her frustration, she multiplies it, and gives you hell. If you give a woman a word, you get a sentence. You give a sentence, you get a paragraph. You give a paragraph, you get yourself a book. A woman is a powerful creature. She's a receiver, an incubator, only received. That's why a female was built by God, just to receive. If you look at a man's body, there is nothing to be received. What you see there is an exit, that's not a reception. It is illegal to enter and exit, and if you study a woman or female, there's nowhere for her to give. She is a receiver, but the male is a giver. She was designed to receive, very crucial. If you want to see a woman short circuit, start taking. That's why rape is so devastating to a woman, because a man took something from her. Conclusion. In a world that often misunderstands and underestimates the power of women, women need to embrace their unique purpose and femaleness. By understanding their true identity and inherent worth, women can navigate through life with confidence and fulfillment. The power of women is not to be feared or diminished, but to be celebrated and harnessed for the betterment of society. Thank you very much for watching.